Global Sumud Flotilla started sailing from Marmaris, Turkey on May 14th, and we started sailing towards Greek islands, and we had an anchorage there due to the bad weather because the tide was high, sea was rough, and many of us fell seasick. And on 17th of night, we started seeing a lot of drone movement, started seeing warships in a distance, and we have been followed. And on 18th, after the noon, all our communications were cut down. No mobile data. Our CCTV was cut down. Our VHF line was cut down. And we were intercepted by the IDF. There were two warships, and one of their ribs approached us and asked us to stand up, hands up, and turn around the boat towards their warship. So we did not respond to that. They boarded our boat forcefully. We were in international waters. We were not in their territorial waters. We were not going to apartheid state of Israel. We were going to Gaza with aid. We were intercepted. We were subjected to brutality. We were sent to the front of the boat. And later, another Israeli boat approached us, picked us up from there, and took us to the warship. There, the trauma and the brutality started. The very step we took into that ship, we started seeing their inhumane, monstrous, and brutal treatment towards our participants. They dragged us, made us kneel down, took us our life jackets, took over the warm clothes from us. It was very cold, and we were subjected to so much atrocities. Then we were taken one by one into a dark container. This dark container, there were 5 men with arms, and that is the chamber that they used to beat our comrades. I was taken in, forcefully knelt, and they tried to take off my hijab. I refused, I resisted. Then one of their soldiers came close to me, asked me to take off my nose ring, which I refused. Then he wanted me to take it off, or he said he will rip it off. So I took it off, gave it to him. He asked for my earrings. I gave my earrings, and he pushed me out of that container. I thought the nightmare was over from there, but I stepped into more brutality because I saw my comrades beaten up, bleeding, with rib fractures. Immediately, as a medic, we started treating them. We started triaging them. But we did not have anything that we can provide any medical support to our comrades. The food was frozen flatbread. So we used the frozen flatbread to bandage our comrades using t-shirts and water bottles. We splintered them using these plastic bottles because they were in agony. They were beaten up, punched in the face, bleeding, and no medical attention was given to us. There were severe injuries, severe fractures, severe tased wounds. They tased people on the head and in the mouth. There is one of my comrades sustained 15 burn injuries by a taser. Women punched in the face, broken noses, head injuries, concussions. They were beaten in their stomach and sexually assaulted. We were kept in, there were 4 containers. One of them were the beating chamber. 3 were given for us to stay, and 2 we used as the hospitals because the amount of people who were in, we had to triage them there. There was doctors from Turkey, doctor from Ireland, and a doctor from Spain, I think, and myself and Malaysian doctor. And I have to clarify this one thing. I'm not a doctor. I'm a medic. I'm an emergency medic. So I supported these doctors. We triaged them. But we did not think some of them could make the night because it was very cold and the containers didn't have any doors. And what they did, we had a small open space. They flooded it with water. So we will be cold, miserable, in pain and agony and traumatized. They came in the middle of the night, woke us up with stun grenades. People were terrified, traumatized because of the brutality. And during the night, they intercepted few boats and they were treated miserably. They were in so much pain, punched using elbows, knees, and tased continuously. So we spent 3 days in that container, not knowing the time where we were. We were kept on the sea and in inhuman situations. We had to fight and demand for water, demand for food, but many of us were on a hunger strike from day one. Then we were taken to Ashdod. In Ashdod, it was more and more brutal because they kept us on a stress position. We were on a stress position more than 3 hours, and we saw their monstrosity in Ashdod far more better than we were in the warship. My comrades were already beaten brutally, but again and again they were beating them up where they sustained injuries, but they made sure that these injuries that did not show out into the world. They were mostly internal injuries, except which were visible in their faces and the taser wounds. And they played music, they mocked us, they laughed at us, they clapped when our people suffered, and they zip-tied us. Some of us were zip-tied in the front and some of us were zip-tied behind. So think about people who are zip-tied behind and face on parallel to the ground. They were in so much pain. They were requesting to cut down the zip tie. They did not, and they were kept in that position for hours. Sending through us immigration was another terrifying experience. You must have seen the videos, how they were treated. Women, how they were treated, assaulted while they were taken to the immigrations. They were dragged. The way that they took every comrade to the immigration was, they have a very unique way of carrying people. They just tied our hands back and put our heads down below our knees and made us walk. Even after immigrations, we were sent to several checkpoints, security measures. Even there, they humiliated us, verbally assaulted us, sexually, verbally assaulted women. They used foul language. And when we arrived in the point that we were supposed to board the prison boat, we were handcuffed and our legs were cuffed as well. Prison buses were very congested, tiny rooms. They put us into tiny rooms, unbreathable rooms, and people started screaming because they couldn't breathe. We were not given water, we were not given food from that time we entered the tent in Ashdod. From that time until we were released to the airport in Ramon, we were not given with water, we were not given with food. They used dogs to traumatize our members. They used guns when we were in prison. We were taken out multiple times from these cells. We were made kneel again on the cold concrete slabs. Women were assaulted with brutal language, foul language. They used sexual language, and there was these people who used to stare at us through the windows of these cells in a very foul way. And we were taken into this prison area. We were paraded and we were displayed. We were not allowed to lift our heads. Every time we had to lower our heads, almost close to our knees, bent down. And one of the officers lined us up and he said that, "I want one of you to make trouble and I want to kill one of you today." So he pointed a gun at one of my comrades' head and he clocked the gun.